Most men don't lose a woman because they aren't attractive. They lose her because they become reactive. They overthink every message. They panic at every mood shift. They chase when they feel uncertainty. They argue to prove a point. They try to control outcomes instead of controlling themselves. And it's strange because the men who seem to have the strongest pull are often the ones doing the least work on the surface. They're not begging. They're not proving. They're not performing. They're not trying to win. They're calm. They're steady. They're unbothered. And here's the part most people misunderstand. Being unbothered isn't being cold. It isn't ignoring people. It isn't acting like you don't care. Real unbothered energy is simple. You care, but you don't collapse. You feel, but you don't spiral. You like her, but you don't need her to be okay. That's why it's attractive. Not because it's a trick, because it signals something rare: emotional control, self-respect, and inner stability. Today, I'm going to break down why unbothered men are irresistible, what's happening psychologically, and then I'll give you a step-by-step system to become that man without playing games, without being fake, and without turning into an emotionless robot. Because when you become truly unbothered, it changes everything. How you text, how you handle conflict, how people treat you, how you walk into rooms, how you walk away from what doesn't serve you. And the best part, you don't have to act unbothered. You become unbothered by building a life and mindset that makes you unshakable. Let's get into it. What unbothered really means and what it does not. Before we go deeper, we need to clear up a dangerous misunderstanding. Being unbothered does not mean being rude or dismissive, giving the silent treatment, trying to punish someone with distance, acting like you're above everyone, pretending you have no emotions, playing hard to get intentionally making someone anxious so they chase you. That's not unbothered. That's insecurity wearing a mask. Real unbothered means you don't react emotionally on impulse, you don't chase approval, you don't bargain for respect, you don't get pulled into drama, you stay calm when things get tense, you set boundaries without debating, you value your peace more than winning a moment. Unbothered men aren't numb. They're regulated. They're the kind of man who can hear something uncomfortable and still respond like an adult. They don't explode, they don't beg, they don't panic, they respond with control. That's why their presence feels powerful. Most people's emotions are like a door in a storm, slamming open and shut all day. Unbothered men have a lock on the door. They decide what comes in, and when you have that kind of control, people feel it immediately. 1. Why unbothered men are irresistible. Reason. 1. Calm feels like safety, and safety feels like attraction. Attraction isn't only about looks or charisma. A huge part of attraction is nervous system response. People are drawn to what feels safe, steady, and strong. When a man is easily triggered, jealous, defensive, needy, aggressive, her nervous system registers stress. Even if she likes him, something inside her feels like this will be exhausting. But when a man stays calm under pressure, it sends a completely different signal. This man can handle life. Calmness communicates competence. It communicates maturity. It communicates strength. And strength isn't always loud. Sometimes strength is quiet. It's the man who doesn't need to prove himself in every conversation. It's the man who doesn't need to win every disagreement. It's the man who can be challenged without losing control. A calm man makes people feel steady around him, and steadiness is addictive in a world full of chaos. Reason 2, neediness repletes, self-respect attracts. Neediness is basically saying, I need you to behave a certain way so I can feel okay. It doesn't matter how you hide it, people can feel it. Needy men chase reassurance. They ask the same questions in different forms. Do you like me? Are we good? Where's this going? Why are you acting different? Are you talking to someone else? Even if they don't say it directly, they behave like it. And that energy is heavy. Unbothered men carry the opposite energy. I'm already okay. I'm choosing you, not depending on you. That's self-respect. When you respect yourself, you don't accept half effort. You don't tolerate disrespect. You don't chase someone who's unsure about you. You don't abandon your standards just to keep someone close. And standards are attractive because they create clarity, they create structure, they create value. A man who stands on something is rare. Most men bend for attention. Reason 3, unbothered energy is rare, and people value what's rare. Let's be honest, a lot of men are available, but not because they're emotionally healthy. They're available because they're thirsty for validation. They reply instantly every time. They overcompliment early, they overinvest early, they overexplain, they overpursue, they tolerate disrespect to keep access. That behavior is everywhere. So when a woman meets a man who is present but not desperate, warm but not needy, it stands out because he doesn't give his attention away like it's worthless. He gives it with intention, not as a power play, as a reflection of his life and self-respect. He has a mission, he has structure, he has direction, and his calmness makes his attention feel meaningful. Reason 4. Unbothered men pass tests without even trying. A lot of tests aren't planned. They're subconscious. Sometimes someone becomes emotional, dramatic, or challenging because they want to see, will you lose control? Will you become aggressive? Will you become needy? Will you collapse and beg? Will you punish and withdraw? Will you take everything personally? Unbothered men pass because they don't get hooked. They don't take every comment as disrespect. They don't take every mood shift as rejection. They don't take every delay as betrayal. They stay steady, and stability builds trust. When your emotions aren't swinging all day, people can relax around you. That relaxation often gets interpreted as attraction. Reason 5. Calmness signals status without saying a word. In any social environment, the person who reacts the most is often the person with the least control. Think about it. If you insult someone who truly knows their worth, what happens? They don't scramble to prove themselves, they don't explode to protect their ego, they respond calmly, or they don't respond at all. Unbothered men signal internal status. I don't need to prove myself to be okay. They don't argue for respect. They don't negotiate their worth. They don't chase a yes. And ironically, that often creates more interest than any line or gimmick because it makes people wonder, why is he so steady? What does he know that other men don't? The answer is simple. He controls himself. 2. The big mistake. Fake unbothered vs real unbothered. Here's where many guys mess up. They hear unbothered and think it means being emotionally unavailable, so they become dry. They stop communicating, they withhold affection, they act indifferent, they use silence as punishment. That is not confidence, that is avoidance. Cold men avoid connection. Unbothered men can handle connection without losing themselves. Cold men withdraw to control someone's emotions. Unbothered men step back to protect their peace and uphold boundaries. Cold men are afraid to feel. Unbothered men can feel without being controlled. The goal isn't to become cold. The goal is to become centered. Centered men can be warm without being weak. They can be kind without being a doormat. They can be strong without being cruel. That's the version you want. 3. How to become unbothered. The system. This is not about pretending. This is about building the real foundation that creates unbothered energy naturally. Step 1. Build a life that doesn't depend on anyone's attention. The number one reason men get bothered is simple. They don't have enough going on. When she becomes the center of your life, she becomes the center of your emotions. Every text matters, every tone shift matters, every delay matters, every story matters. Your mood starts depending on her behavior. That's not love, that's attachment. Unbothered men have structure, they have goals, they have discipline, they have routines, they have friendships, they have health standards, they have progress. So here's what you do. Create a non-negotiable routine in 3 categories. 1, body, something that improves your body every day. Gym, sport, running, walking, diet discipline, stretching, anything. Your body is your nervous system. If it's weak and overstimulated, you'll be reactive. 2, mind, something that strengthens your mind every day. Reading, journaling, meditation, skill building, learning. When your mind is stronger, your emotions are less chaotic. 3, mission, something that advances your purpose. Work, business, craft, creative project, career development. When a man has mission, he stops begging for meaning from relationships. When those 3 pillars are consistent, you become naturally unbothered because your identity is no longer fragile. You become a man with a center. Step 2, master the pause power. The 2-second rule. Most men lose their power in one moment, the moment they react. They feel a spike of emotion and they respond instantly. They send the angry text, they say the insecure thing. They try to fix the situation immediately. They over-explain. They chase. Unbothered men don't do that. They pause. Here's a practice that changes your entire life. Before responding to anything emotional, pause for 2 seconds. 2 seconds doesn't sound like much, but it separates reaction from response. In that pause, ask yourself one question. What response makes me respect myself? Not, what response makes her stay? What response proves I'm right? What response wins the argument? Just, what response makes me respect myself? That question puts you back in control. The strongest men aren't the ones with no emotion. They're the ones who can feel emotion without being driven by it. Step 3, stop making someone else's mood a measurement of your worth. This is a huge one. A lot of men secretly believe, if she's happy, I'm winning. If she's upset, I'm losing. So when she's distant, he panics. When she's stressed, he overcompensates. When she's moody, he tries to fix it. When she's short, he assumes rejection. Unbothered men don't take every mood personally. They understand. People have days, people have stress, people have emotions. That doesn't automatically mean you are rejected. Instead of thinking something is wrong with me, they think something might be going on. I'll stay steady. This is the difference between anxious energy and stable energy. Stable men don't mirror chaos. They bring calm. Step 4, set boundaries without arguing. Want to become unbothered fast? Stop arguing. Arguing is what you do when you need validation. Arguing is what you do when you want someone to agree so you can feel secure. Boundaries are different. Boundaries are decisions. A boundary is not a speech. It's a line. Here are unbothered boundary lines that work because they are short and clean. That doesn't work for me. I'm not doing that. I'm not available for that conversation. If we're going to talk, it needs to be respectful. I'll continue this when it's calm. Notice something. No essay, no debate, no begging for understanding. You say it once, and then you follow through. A boundary without follow-through is just a request. Unbothered men don't request respect. They require it, not with aggression, with clarity. Step 5. Stop over-explaining. The one-sentence rule. Over-explaining is insecurity. It's the hidden belief that if you explain enough, they'll approve. And if they approve, you'll feel okay. Unbothered men don't need approval to respect themselves. Try this rule. Say it in one sentence, then stop. Examples. I can't make it tonight. Let's plan another day. I'm not interested in arguing. I'm focused today. We'll talk later. I'm not okay with that. Then stop. Silence is powerful when you're not afraid of it. Most men talk too much because silence makes them nervous. Unbothered men let silence do the work. Step 6. Learn to walk away without drama. This is the ultimate unbothered skill. Walking away doesn't mean you're angry. It means you have standards. If someone is yelling or escalating, we can talk when it's calm. I'm stepping away. If someone is disrespectful, I'm not continuing this. If someone is playing games, I'm looking for something straightforward. If that's not you, no worries. No speeches, no threats, no emotional explosions. Just a clean exit. A lot of men stay in chaos because they think leaving means losing, but sometimes leaving is the win because it proves you won't abandon yourself for attention. Step 7, detach from outcomes without detaching from your standards. There's a mindset shift that creates unbothered energy instantly. Stop needing a specific outcome. When you need the date to go perfectly, you become anxious. When you need her to respond fast, you become needy. When you need the relationship to work, you tolerate disrespect. Unbothered men want things, but they don't need them to be okay. They walk into situations with preference, not desperation. They think, I would like this to work, but I won't sacrifice my self-respect to make it work. That's the secret. Detachment is not coldness. Detachment is freedom. Freedom from control, fear, and overthinking. 4. Real-life scenarios. How unbothered men move. Scenario. 1. She takes hours to reply. This is where anxious men destroy themselves. They check their phone constantly. They stare at seen. They double text. They create stories in their head. Unbothered men do one thing. They continue their day. Because they understand a reply is not a life event. If she replies later, great. If she doesn't, great. Your peace can't be rented from someone's attention. If she disappears frequently and the effort is inconsistent, unbothered men don't complain. They adjust access. They might say, seems like you've been busy. Hit me when you're free and we'll plan something. That's it. Calm, clean, no guilt trip, no bitterness, no emotional rant. Scenario. 2. She tries to start an argument. Arguments are emotional traps. Some people argue because they're stressed. Some argue because they want attention. Some argue because they want control. Unbothered men don't get dragged. They say, I'm not doing a fight. If you want to talk calmly, I'm here. If it escalates, all right, we'll talk later. Then they exit the conversation, not as punishment, as a boundary. They don't fear conflict, but they don't worship it. They don't have to win. They don't have to convince. They don't have to prove. They keep their frame calm, respectful, firm. Scenario 3, disrespect or insults. Unbothered men do not negotiate disrespect. They don't insult back. They don't fight for power. They don't beg for kindness. They set a clear line. Don't talk to me like that. try again with respect. I'm not staying in this conversation. And if it continues, they leave. No anger needed. The calm boundary is more powerful than the angry reaction, because anger shows you are hooked. Calmness shows you are in control. Scenario 4, she mentions other men to get a reaction. Some men crumble here. They interrogate. They get jealous. They compete. They act possessive. That communicates insecurity. Unbothered response is simple. Okay. Or, do what you want. I'm not competing. Then keep it moving. If it becomes a pattern and it's clearly disrespectful, you draw a boundary. If you want to talk to other guys, that's your choice. I'm looking for something respectful and straightforward. Again, calm, direct, no pleading. Scenario 5, she pulls away or gets distant. This is where men either become clingy or become cold. Unbothered men do neither. They do one calm check-in, then they give space. Hey, you seem a bit off. Everything good? If she says, I'm fine, and stays distant, they don't interrogate. They don't chase. They say, all right, I'm here if you want to talk. Then they continue their life, because closeness cannot be forced, but self-respect can be maintained. And here's the truth. When you don't chase distance, distance often loses its power. Either she comes back with better energy, or she doesn't. Either way, you win because you stayed aligned with yourself. 5. The inner game. How unbothered men are made. The most important thing to understand is this. Unbothered men are not performing confidence. They are living from identity. A truly unbothered man has made one decision. I will not abandon myself for approval. That is the foundation of everything. He doesn't need every woman to like him. He doesn't need every conversation to go perfectly. He doesn't need to be chosen to feel valuable. So how do you build that identity? You build it through self-respect habits. You become the kind of man who trusts himself because you keep your word to yourself. That's where real confidence comes from, not from being desired, from being dependable to your own standards. Practice 1, the self-respect score. Every day, ask, did I act in a way I respect today? Not, did she text? Did she like me? Did I get validation? Just, did I handle myself well? Did I keep my standards? Did I stay calm? Did I avoid begging? Did I speak clearly? Did I walk away from what didn't align? Track it. Seriously. The more you respect yourself, the less you'll need other people to constantly reassure you. Practice 2. Train your nervous system. Many men think confidence is mental, but confidence is also physical. If your nervous system is constantly anxious, overstimulated, sleep-deprived, and flooded with dopamine, you will be reactive. You'll seek quick relief, texting, checking, scrolling, arguing, reassurance. An unbothered man trains calmness like a skill. Do these consistently, lift weights, or do intense exercise regularly, walk every day, improve sleep, reduce constant stimulation, slow breathing when triggered, inhale 4 seconds, exhale 6 seconds. Calmness is trained. Unbothered isn't a personality, it's a regulated state. Practice 3. Replace control her with control me. The moment you stop trying to control someone else's behavior, you gain power, because trying to control her is fear. Self-control is strength. Instead of asking, how do I make her stop doing that? Ask, what will I allow? What will I tolerate? What's my boundary? What's my consequence if it continues? That's the mindset of a man with standards, and standards are attractive because they create a clear framework. You can't manipulate him into chaos. You can't pull him off his center. Practice 4. Get comfortable being misunderstood. This one is huge. Most men over-explain because they're terrified of being misunderstood. They want her to see their intentions. They want her to approve. They want her to agree. Unbothered men don't fear misunderstanding. They know who they are. They can say, that's not what I mean, but I'm not going to argue. My boundary stands. They can let someone be upset without rushing to fix it, because their identity isn't fragile. If you want to become unbothered, you must be willing to be disliked by people who only like men they can control. Practice 5. Build real abundance, not fake options. Some guys try to become unbothered by collecting attention. They chase numbers, flings, validation. That's not abundance. That's hunger. Real abundance is internal. Purpose, friends, health skills, confidence built on competence, a life you actually enjoy. When your life is full, you don't cling. When you have direction, you don't beg. Unbothered men aren't unbothered because they have options. They're unbothered because they have value and they know it, with or without anyone. 6. Unbothered scripts. What to say without arguing. Here are lines you can use that communicate calm confidence without drama. When she's emotional and trying to escalate, I hear you. I'm not going to fight. Let's talk calmly. I'm here to understand, not argue. I'm open to talking when it stays respectful. When she's disrespectful, don't talk to me like that. That's disrespectful. Try again. I'm not continuing this conversation. When you need to say no, that doesn't work for me. I'm not doing that. No, I'm not available. My answer is no. When she guilt trips you, I understand you feel that way. My answer is still no. I'm not changing my boundary because you're upset. When she accuses you of being distant, but you're simply focused, I'm good, just focus today. I've got a lot on my plate today. We'll talk later. When she disappears and comes back, hope you're good. If you want to plan something, let me know. Good to hear from you. What's your schedule like this week? When you're not interested, you seem cool, but I don't think we're a fit. Wishing you the best. The pattern is always the same. Short, calm, direct, no essays, no begging, no insults, no panic. Unbothered men don't use words to convince, they use words to be clear. 7. The biggest myth. Unbothered men don't care. The most unbothered men often care deeply. They just don't turn caring into self-abandonment. They can be affectionate without being anxious. They can be loyal without being controlled. They can love without losing their standards. They can hear "I'm upset" without hearing "I'm leaving." They can handle tension without spiraling into fear, because their emotional foundation is strong. Being unbothered isn't about acting cool. It's about being free. Free from overthinking. Free from emotional gambling. Free from needing constant validation. Free from chasing people who aren't sure about you. And that freedom is magnetic, because when you're free, your energy changes. You stop moving like a man who needs, you start moving like a man who chooses. 8. The 7-day unbothered challenge. Do this and you'll feel different. If you actually want to become unbothered, don't just understand the idea, practice it. Here's a simple 7-day challenge. Day 1, write your standards. Write what you tolerate and what you don't. Write your relationship standards, communication standards, respect standards. If you don't know your standards, you'll accept anything. Day 2, build your non-negotiable routine. Body, mind, mission. Put it on a schedule. Start today. Day 3, practice the 2-second pause. All day, before responding emotionally, pause for 2 seconds. Notice how much control you gain. Day 4, 1-sentence rule. No essays, no over-explaining. Practice clean, short communication. Day 5, say no on purpose. Say no to one request you normally accept out of guilt. Prove to yourself you can choose your peace. Day 6, lower your stimulation. Less scrolling, less dopamine chasing, more walking, training, reading, sleep. You're building a calm nervous system. Day 7, handle one uncomfortable moment with control. Maybe it's a tense conversation, maybe it's a late reply, maybe it's a disagreement. Your goal, stay calm, stay respectful, stay firm. After a week, you won't be perfect, but you'll feel the difference. And when you feel the difference, you act differently. And when you act differently, people respond differently. Final message. Why unbothered men win. Unbothered men are irresistible because they signal emotional control, self-respect, stability standards, maturity, inner confidence, a life that doesn't revolve around validation. They don't chase. They choose. They don't argue. They decide. They don't panic. They respond. And the most important part is this. You don't become unbothered by pretending you don't care. You become unbothered by becoming a man who trusts himself, respects himself, and refuses to abandon himself for attention. That's real confidence. That's real masculinity. That's real power.